I think about some other people in the field is that they kind of take away the hope in certain aspects. Like, is everybody that come to the gym, are they gonna make it to the NFL? Probably not. They gonna make it to the NBA? No. But we set goals in place where they keep achieving. So like a goal right now may not be for a certain athlete to go to the NFL, but our first goal is like, okay, let's get you to run a 4.5, and then they hit that goal. And then from that point, we keep creating different goals. And then if they get to the point where they're achieving that much and they can get there, great. But like, I don't know. I just don't want to take away certain aspects from athletes, like telling them that, oh, they can't make it, but because you can, but you have to hit the little things first. Just get the basics together. Just get you fundamentally correct, and then see how far you can go from there.
Welcome to the Unexpected Podcast here. I am Ben Crawford, and today I have with me is Darrell D. Sullins. And we're going to talk about his business, Sky High Fitness, and he has a couple other little side things going on. I'm going to get to talk to him about that. The one thing to mention first is that the Unexpected Podcast is brought to you by Red Barn Home Furnishings. You can find Red Barn Home Furnishings at red_barn_home. I always screw it up. On Instagram or redbarnhomefurnishings.com. And Darrell, tell people how they can find Sky High Fitness.
Well, you can find us on Instagram I had to think about it too. So it's skyhigh_fitness TC. And people ask what the TC stands for. That's just training center.
Center, okay.
Yep, skyhigh_fitness TC. Yep, and my personal IG is DEE_SULLINS 7. So that you can find me on Instagram with that too. So
okay, now do you guys have a website?
Actually, it's in the process of being made right now.
Okay.
So one thing I learned is that what is it called? Sales funnels help a lot. So
okay.
I decided to put together a website to kind of just help get the name out there, because it's hard to kind of find the gym because we're in the middle of a church. So it's just easier for people to see like where we're at and whatnot. So.
Yeah, when people ask me where the gym is, I always say right next to Victorio's Pizza.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that's the easiest way to describe it. Mm-hmm. And then people are like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know right where that is. So.
Yeah. I guess Victoria's Pizza is like a staple place in Alliance. So.
Yeah, I guess I never ate there until I moved back in 2017, and I was looking for a good pizza place.
Yeah.
And everybody said to go there, so that's how I found it. But anyways, let's talk a little bit more about Sky High Fitness. What exactly is Sky High Fitness?
So Sky High Fitness, we're a performance center. So for the most part, we train athletes from the ages of like 6 all the way up to college. And our goal is to help prepare them for the next level. So if you're a middle school athlete getting ready for high school getting ready for college trying to go pro, we create a training plan that's specific for you to help you get to those levels and help you, achieve all the goals that you set out for yourself. We also train adults too, though, so I don't want to shy away from that. But we train adults, or people that are looking to lose weight, gain weight, tone. We have a couple of trainers that kind of specialize in different fields. We have a girl that specializes in women fitness and mobility. We have a guy that specializes in like group training for athletes, and then me, I kind of do a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So part of that, do you also do like helping them with calorie intake and food and things like that?
Yeah, so right now it's 3 of us. It's 3 trainers, and all 3 of us are certified nutritionists. And so we help guide people on their nutritional journey. So we don't necessarily write straight out meal plans like eat this much protein at this time. We don't do anything like that, but we help guide you of what to eat, things that you should include based off your body type and even like your work schedule. So we help people with pretty much every aspect of fitness that we can.
Awesome. Okay, cool. I know that we deal with each other as far as the youth fitness and improving youth athletes. My son goes to you. And it's pretty impressive to plug you for a second that, Jack's not the fastest kid in the world, or he didn't used to be. And I always make fun of, you hear me say it, and that his feet are nailed to the ground.
Yeah.
But the improvement that he's had in the last year is pretty incredible and significant to where, we're getting into, in baseball this past spring, he, had a few triples, which to imagine 3 years ago that kid hitting triples is unbelievable. And, he had inside the park home run, a little league home run.
Yeah.
And then see him getting ready for football now and how he is now faster than kids that were the fast kids.
I love those stories.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was surprised. We're sitting there, we have them doing gassers, sprints, or whatever you want to call it. And he's beating the running backs and stuff. And he's
good.
For anybody that doesn't know him, he's a center, defensive and linebacker type of a kid. And to see him running down the fastest kids on the team, that it says a lot for what you're doing, because when he first started out there, he was not the fastest child on the face of the planet.
And that's what it's all about. I've been training for a while now. I think going on 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I've been training for a while now. And I remember when I first got into the field, I was working with this guy. And at the time, every athlete that came in that had a name for themselves, they were known for being fast or known for catching the ball really well, he would take it. And then I would get people who may not have the skill set to, be able to do the certain things or have the accolades that other people have. And one of my family members asked me if I got irritated from that. And I told him no, because it's more rewarding when you see someone come from the ground up versus someone who's already there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's easy for a guy to come in that's fast and for me to market a guy that's fast, or, because that doesn't really do anything for my training ability. Yeah. But having somebody come in that, is, like you said, have their feet nailed to the ground.
Yeah, he does. And he did.
And then you see them starting catching up to other people. That's the most rewarding thing. A kid just came in the gym a couple of weeks ago, started there 2 months ago, could barely touch the rim of a basketball hoop, and was losing hope. I don't know if I'll be able to dunk. I'm like, listen, if you stick to the plan, you keep training, keep staying consistent, you're going to do it. So this past week, he dunked a tennis ball. And that sounds like nothing, but going from not being able to touch a rim at all to dunking a tennis ball, he now sees his progression and where he can be. And that's what I love about the field that I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah, helping people achieve personal goals. And I know that from a personal standpoint, I may not look like it now, but when I was a kid, I was lean and in shape, and making improvements that significant, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's difficult. Yeah. And, I was in that same category where I wasn't necessarily blessed with significant athletic ability or physical ability, but I built myself into that. Not like I was a superstar or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying, but I was better than average, and it was working at it, what you're helping kids do. So that's a big thing, and having somebody leading them that knows what they're doing, that's pretty fantastic.
And that's the thing. I think about some other people in the field is that they kind of take away the hope in certain aspects. Is everybody that come to the gym, are they gonna make it to the NFL? Probably not. They gonna make it to the NBA? No. But we set goals in place where they keep achieving. So a goal right now may not be for a certain athlete to go to the NFL, but our first goal is okay, let's get you to run a 4.5, and then they hit that goal. And then from that point, we keep creating different goals. And then if they get to the point where they're achieving that much and they can get there, great. But I don't know. I just don't want to take away certain aspects from athletes, telling them that, they can't make it, but because you can, but you have to hit the little things first. Just get the basics together. Just get you fundamentally correct, and then see how far you can go from there.
Yeah. Hard work outperforms talent every time. Yeah. Because you've heard the story a million times of people who are extremely talented but don't want to work.
Right.
And they fail. They don't. Yeah. They at some point, maybe not in high school, maybe not in college.
Yeah.
Maybe takes until they get into the NFL. I mean, look at Ryan Leaf, for instance, or Brady Quinn for all the Browns fans around here. They got into the NFL and they were total busts.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm going to get some haters for Brady Quinn lovers be like, he worked hard. Well, if he worked hard, he wouldn't have busted. But, you know, and that's what you're teaching these young athletes is not just working hard to take care of themselves physically, but also mentally, and that's laying the groundwork for success for them in the future in whatever field they go into.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, because like you said how Jack's catching those kids.
Yeah.
That's going to happen because, you know, those kids that already feel fast, they may not feel like they have to do certain things, but then they get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's kind of the reality. And that's kind of like a life lesson too, is that even when you're on top, someone's always gunning for you.
Somebody's grinding.
Yep. Someone's always coming.
Yep.
And so that's like, you know, because I play football at Mount, and that's just one thing that we always thought about, because you come in as a freshman trying to take people's spots, right? And then you go to your sophomore year, and then you go to your junior year. Now you're on top, but you're now the guy that have to protect your spot because you have all these young guys coming in. And that's just how I feel like our lives are. That's how I feel like training is. It's just a never ending cycle of trying to stay on top, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just said you played at Mount Union, and you know, I do have some people that follow me on Instagram that may not be familiar with Mount Union football. I mean, obviously, I am. Mount Union football is like, that's like saying, in my mind, here locally, that's like saying you play for Ohio State or something. Like they are a legacy program. So talk a little bit about that, like where you came from playing for Mount Union, what it was like starting out there, and how that led you to where you're at now, where you're helping these young athletes.
You got time?
Yeah, we got plenty of time.
Well, to be honest with you, it was rough in the beginning.
Yeah.
I remember coming in as a freshman because I was undersized. So I had multiple schools looking at me to play football, but all of them was like the D2, D3 because of my size. I graduated at like, I'm 5'10" now, so I took the inch. You know, I take it every time. But I graduated at like 5'9". I was like 155 trying to play corner. So my options were limited. Mount was a great program for me. But I came in like struggling with like confidence. So I remember going out to I remember coming on a visit, and I'm seeing some of the wide receivers and DBs that's walking in and out of the weight room. I'm like, I gotta play with these guys. Like, I'm thinking, you know, D3 football is going to be like, oh, you know, just run, you know, but no, like these guys come to play, especially at a school like Mount. So I struggled in the beginning with confidence. I didn't think I could play. And I remember after mini camp, I went to my dorm room and I was just getting beat up on. They just released a depth chart, and I think it was 25 corners, and I was ranked 23.
Oh, wow.
So I was just so upset. I was so distraught. I was like, man, I don't even want to be here. And so I was so mad. Like, I flipped my entire room. I knocked my posters off the wall. I flipped my mattress off. And I had a roommate too, and I destroyed the room. Like,
that's hard to believe knowing you now. I mean, you're pretty chill guy.
Yeah, but I have episodes in the quiet places.
Yeah.
So, I remember calling my parents, and I was talking to my dad and my mom. We was on like a group call, and I was like, look, like this sucks. Like, I'm getting beat up on. And my dad always said two things. He always said, remember your name. And then sullins don't quit. So that made me think. And then he also gave me, because we're believers in God and in Christ, and we're followers of Christ. And he gave me 2 scriptures that I still carry with me today. Actually, those are the scriptures that we put on the benches. Yeah. And the first scripture is 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. And that one is, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And Hebrews 11:1, which deals with having faith in God. Yeah. And so he gave me those scriptures, and then I went in and I just opened my Bible and I read, and then I prayed, and I was like, look, like, this may not be the path for me, but I'm here for a reason. Yeah. And so after that day, everything just like clicked. I went into practice and I was intercepting balls, knocking balls out the air, like pressing guys and not letting them get off the line. Like, it was a totally different Darrell. And it's because of that thought process. And then I had a reason to do it. Yeah. And so that carried me into my later years in college. We ended up winning a national championship in 2015. Not because of me, but we just won a national championship.
Yeah, you were part of the team.
Yeah, 2015. And then it changed my mindset as far as like developing athletes and a mindset of being an athlete. You know, you put in what you get out. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I get my little things.
Yeah.
So what you put in is what you get out. And so that's kind of the mindset I had going into the training world. And then my junior year of college, that's when I started interning at a gym. And that's when my training career has started. And so, but I do also credit the coaches that I had at Mount, like Coach Ely, Coach Chris Kappas, even Coach BK, because they didn't allow me to fall into that sucky mindset, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they allowed me to kind of develop as a person, as an athlete, but also wasn't afraid to get on me when I was doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And so, like dealing with pressure was rough. They always gave me the confidence, or gave me the I guess affirmations that I needed to know that I could be in the position to be a great cornerback, but it all depended on my effort. And so those are the things I took with me from Mount. But after that little episode there, Mount went well. Like I think I played pretty well. I competed all 4 years there. Well, we went to national championship games 3 out of 4 years I was there, but we went to the playoffs every year.
Yeah.
It got to a point where football was like, oh, this is getting a little tedious. I'm getting a little tired of getting hit all the time. But I think Mount Union was definitely something that kind of helped shape me to be the man I am today. I think Mount, my family, and definitely my relationship with Christ helped me become the person and the trainer that I am right now.
Yeah.
That was kind of long. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. That's what made you who you are.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also what a lot of people who don't play sports don't understand.
Right.
Sports are meant not for you to get into the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball or soccer, whatever sport it is you're playing. It is meant to help you find the best version of yourself.
Right.
To become a leader, to become a person who can persevere through difficulty. Mm-hmm. And you apply that into your life as you move forward. And that's where, I know me personally, I never made it to college, but I was a decent high school athlete. And the lessons I learned from my coaches and from my teammates about being a good teammate and all of that was applied heavily as I grew up, and still today, even through owning my own business, or when I was with FedEx and I was with management there, or even as a father. That's all things that are applied every single day. The things that I learned as an athlete of overcoming, and just like you, overcoming those difficulties. Yeah. So you overcame all that. You like you said, you started out, it was a little sour. Yeah. And then it ended on a great note. You started interning as a trainer. When did you realize that that's what you wanted to do? You wanted to help other people?
Well, at first I knew that I think the role that God had for me in my life is to help others in a certain way. And I knew I could do that through athletics and from the physical aspect. I think after the first couple of years of being a trainer and then seeing that, like, oh, it's literally like, right, you put plans in place and then people like start progressing and he's like, oh, shoot, like this worked. Yeah. So I'm like, dang, I might be kind of good at this. And then there's one of the things, like, I wasn't a big reader growing up. I used to hate it. Yeah. But I found myself being stuck in books and in articles and research of things of helping people jump higher or run faster. And I knew that's what I had, that kind of like that drive to want to do that, is that I was interested in figuring out that other stuff. And I was willing to do stuff I typically don't like to do to figure it out. And so I think like it was after like a year and a half, 2 years of being doing the training at that first place, that I realized that, this is something I wanted to do. And then I want to open my own facility one day. Yeah.
Which is where you're at now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that when you first came into our lives, you were working for somebody else and since have gone out on your own. Let's talk about that for a second. What was that like for you to make that jump?
Honestly, it was fairly easy. I had went to the gym is in a church, right? Yeah. I went to that church service one day, and after church, I'm cool with the pastor. I was talking to Mr. Aaron Hill. I was talking to him, and I was like, man, I would love to just have my own facility one day. Just said it just like that, right? Just wanted to own my own facility one day.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, why don't you just use the church? I'm like, what are we gonna do? Move the pews and stuff? Like, how am I gonna use the church? He's like, we got a gym in the basement. Like, no way. They took me down the stairs and showed me this gym, and I'm not gonna lie, that gym was jacked up. Like, there was paint peeling off the wall. There was a dirt floor, and then it was flooding and all kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
I looked at it and I was like, this might be it. And I remember sitting in the church service and like, I don't know, what I realized now is like the Holy Spirit was like, this is gonna be your home. Like, at the time I was living in Cuyahoga Falls, which is like an hour drive away.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not about to be driving all the way down here to Alliance. But it turned out that that's what ended up happening. And so got down there at first. I was just kind of just doing it on the side. It wasn't like a big leap. Just slowly bringing equipment in. But honestly, to answer your question, the jump into it was fairly easy because at the time I was confident that that's the move that I needed to make. So in other aspects, if, Jake taking a leap of faith where you're leaving a job with a comfortable salary and like you're set in your ways, it would be scary. But for some reason, and I think it was God guided me, I knew that this was where I needed to be. So there was no issue, which actually turned out because a couple months later we find out we was going to have a kid.
Yeah, that's right.
So if I was at any other place where I couldn't create my own schedule, it would have been hard. So
yeah. I remember when you made the jump because my stepson Cohen was training with you at the time, and I remember just thinking to myself, I'm like, good for him. Like, that's awesome. Good for him. But it's also, like you said, when you put your faith in that God has something good for you, that he's guiding you in the right direction, it does make it easier.
Yeah.
It does make it easier because it's like if you it's real easy to overthink stuff.
Right.
And to sit there and mull it over your mind and be like, man, this is crazy. I shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
But when you feel that guidance, like you just can't get it out of your head. Like, that somebody's pushing you in that direction. And you always know when you're moving towards something that's good, that you're going to help people.
Yeah.
That's God pulling you in that right direction.
Yeah. I don't know. It's almost, I don't know. It's just second nature, right? It's just like, if you're hungry, you're going to go eat. You don't think about it. You're just going like, oh, I'm hungry. Let me just go get a sandwich. And that's how I feel like my relationship is when it comes to faith with God, is that, I need to do something. Let me just go do it. God got me, and it had to be reasonable. And I'm not going to do nothing crazy. Like, oh, let me go jump off a building. God's going to like give me wings and fly. Like, I'm not doing anything like that. But as far as like bringing glory to the kingdom and giving God his flowers, it just, I don't know. It just feels like it's second nature.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's what a lot of people struggle with that. Mm-hmm. They don't understand what that faith is, and a lot of people want to put it on their terms rather than God's terms. They say, God, if you're real, do this for me right now.
Right. Yeah.
And if you don't do this for me, then I'm not going to believe in you. Mm-hmm. And that's not the way to do it. Is you try to find those signs, those signals, and you're like, yeah, okay. God's pointing me in this direction, and like you said, it's nothing absurd. Mm-hmm. You can't tempt. You can't do that temptation. Yeah, you can't test God because that's not going to go in the right way for you. But if you're making moves sensibly and believing that you're following His path, it 9 times out of 10 it turns out right.
Yeah. How was it for you? Like when you switched over from your job to do the Red Barn, even like going to the Red Barn and doing stuff like the podcast, like how was that? Yeah. How was that switch for you?
Well, going from full-time employment at FedEx, it was a little bit easier. I mean, I did the furniture for a few years part-time. After, as I mentioned in the first podcast, after my wife at the time passed away, who was Jack's mom, I had some real dark time in there, and the furniture is what helped me pull that. And I felt like that was, God's way of telling me that that's what I should be getting into. And it gave me clarity. It gave me peace. And then a few years down the road, I'm still working full time. I was actually working midnights on the sort up in Youngstown for FedEx. And it was a real easy jump to make because I was like, I'm sick of not sleeping.
Yeah.
And things are moving in the right direction. And I feel like it's time for me to start counting on myself because I felt like that's what my next step was. And so it was nerve-wracking at first, but then, the orders started rolling in and you figure out how to do it as far as managing the money and making sure you're making all the right decisions and you're doing the proper amount of marketing and things like that to make sure there's always business coming in. And it made it pretty easy.
I bet that first item, that first furniture piece that you sold felt so good.
Well, yeah, when I first went out, for sure. I mean, when I was on my own, that was it was a relief. It was a relief. Back in 2017 when I made it my full-time gig. But it was, at the same time though, it was like I kind of had this feeling that it was going to go right. Kind of like how you said, you just had this feeling that you were doing the right thing.
And you don't know this, but you were my first relief.
Really?
Yeah. So that first year that I was there, I think I started in like August. I had a goal at the end of the year. I was like, okay, if I get here, I might be able to just come home full time because I can get some momentum going or whatever. Yeah. That's when you contacted me and Shauna started. Yeah. But you like kind of jump started me into the direction of where I'm at now.
See, I didn't know that. That's totally new. See, I was I remember it was right after it was a Christmas present I got. I got Shauna. And because she was, wanting to get back into being active. Yeah. And to do things to help her hip. And I was like, you know what? I really like what Darrell's doing. So I think you should go to Darrell. And I contacted you and I had no idea.
Yeah. I went home. I was like, Ayla, we're going to do this. We're going to be good. Yeah. You kind of helped jumpstart me into being into this. Yeah. I had this certain goal and then Shauna was the missing link there. Yeah. That kind of helped for push everything to where it's at now.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. I'm glad that that did that. I'm all about supporting people who are trying to achieve their dreams, their goals, and that's what that's what I saw with you. And I honestly am a little speechless because I had no idea. So that's fantastic. That honestly makes me happy to hear that.
Yeah, it was cool. I remember I don't know why I'm like this. Maybe it's just, I don't know, the creator in me, but I remember every single stepping stone that I've set for myself up to this point. Yeah. Yeah. So I can sit down with anybody and be like, oh, this happened here at this time. Yeah. So
that's cool. Yeah. That's fantastic. So that was in, let me remember the date.
I think 2021.
2021?
I think so, yeah.
So that was 2021. You were having your son right around that same time, right?
We found out that he was coming along in that following March or February, 1, 2.
So I remember Shauna coming home and telling me about it. Yeah. I was like, good for him. Yeah. Because there's nothing better than parenthood. Nothing.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. You say once they get past a certain point, but then, teenagers and all that fun stuff. But anyway, I don't want to get in trouble with any of my kids. So you made that jump and started doing the personalized plans for people. And, you slowly expanding. Are you still just in the gym, or is there other? I had heard that there's other rooms in the building you're in now.
Yeah. So in the building itself, there's another room. I don't know if you remember. If you're sitting downstairs, there's like a room to the left corner. Yeah. So there's a couple stairs up there, and in that room, I'm kind of trying to redo it to make it like a rehab area. So
Okay.
when athletes come in before the session or after, there'll be like massage guns up there, heat machines, like things to like roll out, mobility type stuff. So we can get the whole aspect of training in that facility.
Yeah.
Like I said, we have a girl that comes on. Her name is Skylar. She's amazing with like the dynamic stretch, dynamic movement, mobility stuff. So even like her, because she does every Saturday, she does like a dynamic mobility for both adults and then athletes. We're going to start recording those. And I was thinking about having some play or options where you can like scan a QR code and go through some of them up in that room. So it's different things that we're adding with that. And then honestly, if I can get a facility, if I can build a facility, that would be like the thing. So yeah, but one step at a time. I'm just going to utilize everything that I have now, and then when that time comes, that's when that time comes.
Yeah. Well, that takes a little bit of planning. We talked about that before. That
Right.
You're looking to potentially expand and get into a bigger facility. Because you're I've seen the wall. You've got a ton of athletes there that you've gotten to move forward. But then also you have I've seen where you have. There was a bunch of like moms or something. We're in there working out together. You have like spin classes, or like what is that?
It's just a group fitness. It's a bunch of moms that know each other that are friends. It started out with like I think 2 or 3, and they go drop their kids off to school and they talk and they go have coffee and stuff. Like, oh, you should come work out with me. They all come. But honestly, I really enjoy it because the energy that they bring is just a fun environment. I don't know. Then like between you and me, I feel like women work harder than guys in this aspect. So
I believe it.
I can throw anything at them. Even like Shauna, like I can throw anything at Shauna and she can do it as long as everything felt okay. Yeah. But like, and so it's just fun because I can incorporate traditional training stuff. I can also throw in stuff that we do with athletes, and they try it their best. They go hard at it, and then they're laughing and playing at the end of the day. So, I think it's like, I think I have 4 groups. So it's a group that comes in like Tuesday morning. It's like 5 to 7 of them, depending. There's a group of 3 that comes in on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the afternoon, and a group of like 3 to 5 that come in on Friday. Oh, wow. And so, yeah, it's just so much fun. I kind of look forward to it, and it's fun writing that plan. Like, okay, we got tires, and I know they don't like the tires. So, yeah, it's definitely enjoyable. I do have a question for you, though. Yeah. But like, what made you want to do a podcast? Because I feel like that's very different than wood shop, like craftsmanship.
It is. So the reason I decided to do a podcast was multiple reasons. And I think I said this on the last episode with Jessica, is I was looking to expand my reach as far as social media to bring people to Red Barn Home Furnishings, another way to get people to, find me there, but then also to inspire other people who are out there and thinking about starting their own business, in talking to other small business owners who I feel like have a similar journey to me as far as putting a lot of faith in God and taking a chance. What some people would think is taking a chance. Because I always said to myself, when I was a kid, I worked in landscaping when I was like 19. And I'm working on these houses that are like $1 million houses. I'm like, how in the hell did these people get to this point?
That's how I feel driving down the street.
Yeah. I'm just like, how did they make all this money? Like, you remember Bally Fitness?
Yeah.
So like I worked at that guy's house when I was 19.
Really?
They were prepping for the 4th of July. And I'm out there. This house is gorgeous. It's out on like this peninsula up in, where is that? Fairlawn area.
He's from Ohio?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
At least that's what my foreman told me. That's whose house we were working on. It could have been total crap. But anyways, so I'm out there working on this house, and it's out on this lake and this peninsula. And he has this dock and boats and all this stuff. And I'm just like looking around. I'm like, this guy made all this money owning a gym. I'm just like, how did he do that? Like, how did he do that?
Yeah.
And I've always thought that through all my interaction with people was like, how did they get to that point?
Yeah.
And I wanted to, talk to other people who are doing that jump to small business to the next level potentially, and see what the common ideas and thoughts and drives are between all of us.
And it's crazy. Like, I have to give credit to the people that was creating businesses and growing gyms, like, and doing different things before social media. Because how the heck? Like, I feel it's hard having Instagram and Facebook and all this other stuff, and you can just reach millions of people with a click of a button. But these guys reach millions of people on newspaper, like which is insane to me. And so I don't know.
And that's where you wonder that. Because like I just had that conversation because I'm looking what my next step is. How do I get bigger? How do I get employees and get to that next level? And what are the next things to do? And there's a lot of those businesses were like corporately funded, and somebody took a huge risk. Like I watched the BlackBerry movie over the weekend. Okay, have you seen that?
Not yet. No.
Those guys, holy crap! The stuff that they pulled.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, BlackBerry's completely out of business, right. and they totally fell on their faces when the iPhone came around. But they created the smartphone market. Like they were it. They started it, and the risks that they took. Yeah. Like, and some of them were illegal. Yeah. Like the one guy got in all sorts of trouble, but the risks that those guys took was like I just can't even fathom it. And it's not like you watch the Facebook movie and it's like they never actually like they're programming things. They didn't do anything physically. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where like the BlackBerry guys, they made that thing out of like parts and pieces. And it's the same as, what we're doing, you're making a business. You're not just playing around on a computer. And people that can do that, I'm not trying to make the light of that. Right. But you're actually physically creating an environment. You're creating a facility where people can come and feel comfortable to be able to do those sorts of things. And that's at a different level. But to answer your question, the reason I decided to do the podcast was to create a place where people can go in, be inspired by whatever they're trying to do. That's why there's such a wide range of people that I've decided to talk to. It's not just a woodworker podcast. It's a small business podcast. Yeah. And so you was talking about before, people that was willing to take the risk and do different things. It's weird. I was more comfortable taking a risk where I was like leaving my job, where I wasn't going to get paid anymore necessarily. I was okay with taking that risk, but looking at editing like a certain video put on Instagram, I second guessed myself to do something simple like that. And then, but you was talking about before we started recording, how you organize your content. I was like, man, like I literally could do that too. Like the everyday different things that we do in the gym. I just don't know why that sometimes there's a disconnect. I've kind of grown out of it now. Like, this is the content I'm gonna put out. I'm gonna post it and be confident in it. But I remember in the beginning of just like when Cohen was training, because, it was a dirt floor, it just didn't look the most attractive place. I was always apprehensive to like post certain things. And so I don't know, as far as like growth goes, that is one thing that I had to grow out of. And I don't know if anybody else deals with that, but taking a leap of faith of leaving my job was more comfortable than me posting something on Instagram. Yeah. Well, I think that's a common thing. I know that on Instagram, not as much as other platforms. Like Twitter's just full of trolls and monsters. Right. And YouTube can be. Instagram tends to be more positive, but you see that happening to other people where they get like attacked essentially for little things that don't even matter.
Yeah.
And like you said, you had a dirt floor, and I deal with that here. I'm in a 100-year-old dairy barn that when it rains too hard, I get leaks in the roof and stuff like that. And you don't want people to see that because you're worried that they're going to delegitimize you because of that. But the reality of it is, and I think it's becoming more and more prevalent, is that people realize that the old Instagram, where it was everybody's posting pictures with filters on and all this fake stuff.
Yeah.
They're realizing the difference between the posers and the real people.
All right.
So like you're willing to post that stuff and throw it out there that, yeah, this isn't exactly the perfect facility, but you know what? What I'm doing in there, it is perfect.
Yeah.
How you're inspiring young athletes, how you're inspiring middle-aged or older people who are trying to get back in shape and trying to be proud of themselves, that is perfect. And that's the same thing that I had to come to grips with here. I'm in this old dairy barn that when I was first cleaning it up, I'm scraping old manure off the floor. And now I'm, this room used to be a tank room that we're recording in. And, we repainted it and we made it look nicer, and it made me feel a little bit better. But that's still, people come in. I used to be embarrassed when people would come in here.
Yeah, tell me about it. Me too.
And you're like, I promise. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I promise this table is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
It may not look like it in here, but and then you deliver the product. For you, you're delivering that improvement on their child's performance or their own, self-worth as far as like, an adult who's working out. And that's what really matters. And I think showing the reality of it on Instagram or whatever the social media platform is, you're going to get those jerks. I mean, they're just out there. And
have you ever had to deal with one of those?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I dealt with one yesterday. He blocked and deleted that putts pretty quick.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because they get on there and it's always somebody who is, they have their own self-image issues and they're trying to tear you down and you can't get drug into it. I know there's people that I know that I follow or they follow me or that I've talked to before that deal with it way worse than I do. And, I personally, I just delete them.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with the negativity because there's always somebody out there trying to tear you down to make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
I mean, that from being an athlete. There's always that guy on the team that,
oh, I'm better than him, actually. Yeah.
He shouldn't be in front of me. I'm better than him.
Yeah.
This is crap. Saying stuff about how you kiss the coach's butt or whatever. People can't face themselves, so they project it onto you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what, at first, it really used to get under my skin. Like not to sound like soft, but it hurts your feelings. You're putting everything you have into it.
Right.
And then have somebody like try and tear you down.
Right.
Like that's tough.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But then eventually you're like, wait a second, I don't have to deal with this person. Block.
Yeah.
And and I actually have hanging on the wall over there every once in a while. I think I tag you in it every once in a while when I posted it. It's the man in the arena, the quote from Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah.
And when people start tearing you down, it's because they know they're not as good as you, and they have to find something to tear you down.
Yeah, I mean, I have stories, but I think I'm a little apprehensive to tell them in front of thousands and thousands of people. So
yeah,
I relate.
Yeah. It's part of the human condition, I guess.
Yeah, my dad says it's just part of the growth process. So
it is.
As you grow, there's going to be people that's just going to hate on the game. So
they are.
Yeah.
There's people out there that are just they're so unhappy with themselves that they have to lash out at other people.
Maybe there's one guy I was contemplating. I was like, man, I would love to work with this, or I can work with this guy,
Yeah.
I was like, if we grow to this point, this person, then I just heard some things. I was like, yeah, we probably can't work together. Can't work together. Yeah.
They're out there. I mean, especially with athletics, people get very fiery.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think, kudos to you, because I don't think I could coach. Like, I can do the training stuff, because I don't have to set a roster.
Yeah.
But I could not coach because, you play the best people, right? And, there's always that one parent that thinks little Johnny is the best on the team and he can barely walk straight. So,
yeah.
I can't. I don't know how to. I wouldn't know how to deal with that. So I don't think I could coach.
I mean, it's the same as what you're doing, though. You're trying to, and I just said this to the kids the other day. For anybody that doesn't know, I coach 6th grade football. And it's amazing to me how passionate people get about 5th, 6th grade football.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, when I played, I don't know, whatever, I don't remember being like that. My parents were really good at staying completely uninvolved. But, as a coach now, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think that our parents of the kids know that we're trying to do the best we can for the boys and make them the best that they can be. And that's what I said to the kids the other day. They're out there struggling sometimes and they're pushing through the pain or whatever and say, hey, guys, we're trying to make you better, just a little bit better today than you were yesterday.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody gets it. They understand what we're trying to do. But inevitably, we're going to get somebody that's that way. It is a small town and you do have, there's people who are convinced that, their kid's the next Messi or something.
Yeah.
And it's not reality. And you just try to help them through it. And it's tough too, because I legitimately want to help the kids be the best they can. I don't have favorites, even though, my kid's on the team. And I'm probably harder on him than I am on anybody. But I legitimately want to help each kid. And I remember a couple years ago, we had some kids on the team that the coaches were the only good male role models in these kids' lives. And I remember that growing up too. When I was a kid, that there were some kids that they had some pretty crappy home lives. Yeah. And you see that, and that's why you decide to coach, because you're trying to help the kids, and then you're trying to help the town and the program and everything else. But yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
It's definitely heartbreaking, I think, because I was fortunate enough to grow up in a 2-parent home. Yeah. But when you go into environments like doing what I do, right, and you're dealing with kids from all different scenarios and different aspects of life, and you deal with kids whose a parent might be in jail, or a parent might be dealing with some type of, with whatever, it's hard. And then that used to also make me kind of worried too, going into a field like this and dealing with certain demographics, because I was like, I grew up in Beechwood, Ohio, 2 parents, a sister, a dog, we didn't really have to want for much. How can I be relatable to somebody that might need help, Yeah. But I do think it just comes down to just having that compassion, like having that open ear for them. And I think that's commemorable. I think that's the right word to you, because, in dealing with multiple kids, you have 30 kids with different mindsets, and having to be able to cope and talk to these different kids one kid might be on this wavelength, another one. Yeah. So that's another aspect that I know is very, very hard. At least with me, one kid comes in for an hour. Okay, let's deal with this kid. Then he goes, and another kid is one at a time. Yeah. But dealing with a group.
I think they're pretty similar. Honestly, the only difference is that, you got a bunch of kids all at the same time. But usually that comes down to, in that sort of a setting, you have group mentality. You have 25 of the kids are singing from the same sheet of music most of the time.
Gotcha.
And then you have 4 or 5 are the ones you got to deal with that are the difficult ones. But it all works out.
Yeah.
It all works out. To swing back to you, let's talk more about what you do, Sky High Fitness.
Okay.
How difficult is it for you? Because you got all sorts of interesting things, different things that I wouldn't even think of, like the tennis ball thing that you did when you came and worked with the kids. I never in a million years would have thought of that.
Yeah.
How difficult is it to come up with new things on a pretty regular basis to keep the kids challenged?
I have a very creative brain. Like when I drive in my car, I don't listen to anything. I get in the shower, I don't listen to anything. Those are my thinking spaces.
Okay.
And I just think about growing up, what was fun with me. Like you're doing those different things, throwing a tennis ball, trying to catch it. I just think, okay, how can I apply? I know what system I'm trying to work. I'm sorry, I'm trying to bring it all together. I know what system I'm trying to work. I know what I'm trying to, if it's like the tennis ball thing, these kids was going back and forth in like these like rings. They had a sprint. I threw a tennis ball. First one to get the tennis ball.
Yeah.
The purpose of that is firing the feet and reacting to my go and competing to get to the ball. In their head, they're just having fun. So I'm just thinking about what I'm trying to achieve and then how to make that fun, how to make that appealing to a 6th grader. Because, if it's a group of high schoolers, it'll be a different vibe. But that's just all it is. It's just what system I'm trying to work. What am I trying to get out of this? And see, that's one thing that you won't do at Sky High, right? I'm just not going to throw a bunch of hurdles or cones down and you're just going to run in circles, blah, blah, blah. No, everything has a purpose. It may not seem like it, like even like the ball drop. It may just be like, oh, that's just a fun drill. But no, there's a purpose behind what the kids are doing. So that drill specifically that you're talking about is like, how can we get the feet? I want to get the reaction. I want the feet moving fast as they can. Yeah. And then reacting to my goal and competing to get to that point before the other guy. And it just translates over to the sport. And so when I come up with different drills, when I'm sitting down at home, when I get up in the morning, I'm thinking about what these kids are going to do in the morning. And then my afternoon session is like, hey, what is Jack working on today? And how can we achieve that to make it appealing to Jack? You know? And so that's where that kind of personalization comes in when we go into Sky High Fitness, is because like I said, I'm not just going to put some cones down and we're just going to cycle through it. Like, no, are we working on the agility footwork? Are we working on explosion, strength? And then how can we make it fun? And so that's kind of just how I come up with my drills is what are we working on and how can I make it entertaining?
Yeah. Well, and that's a unique quality because I've worked at a lot of gyms over the years when I lived in Columbus. I actually had it was kind of fun. I got to work out with some of the former Ohio State football players. They just happened to be at the gym that I worked out at. And, ended up talking to them and BSing with them, and they were working out. But what I found with the trainers at that particular gym was they tried to jam everybody into the routine they wanted to do. Yeah. And that's not what you're doing. Mm-mm. It's very personalized, and it's not because I didn't say any names of those guys that I worked out with, but they were kind of lazy with it. They did what they felt like doing. Yeah. Not what was going to be best for the person they were working with. Right. Which is different than what you're doing.
Yeah, it's this the strength coach for the Arizona Cardinals. I think his name is Buddy. I can't remember his last name. It's drawing a blank. I think it's Buddy Morris. But he always talked about dealing with the mindset of the athlete before the session even starts. So like you have a guy that comes in, they just had a really long day, and it's not just like excuses. He just, had a really long day. He's beat up from practice before. You don't go and kill that athlete because it's just not going to do anything good for him. Yeah. And I kind of take that mindset into training. So like if Jack comes in and he's like, look, like practice was rough today. We got beat up on. Then I had a long day of school. My brain is just drunk. Because every time they come in, I'm like, oh, how's your day? What did you do that's fun? I always ask the same questions to get an idea where their headspace is at. Yeah. And so I can change the intensity of the training, and that way it's like geared still perfectly for that athlete. So like I love getting athletes a treadmill and then having them sprint and having them box jump and push sleds and all this other stuff. But if they're beat up from the day before, or even like practice, like guys can come in the same day they have practice, because I can set up a training plan to be perfect for them to still progress. There's like, we did this in practice. I'm like, okay, so we're not going to do the sled today. We're going to do this variation of it that where you're still going to see results. But I think it's so important, because I think as far as trainers, we can get so caught up in our head, in our routine. Like, I know this works, I'm going to give this to this kid regardless. But at the same time, you can hurt a kid physically and just mentally by giving them something that they're not physically or mentally ready for. And so when I got good in learning that system of how to kind of create a training plan around somebody else's mindset for the day, that's when I started seeing the fast results. So especially with my college age athletes, they come in from like work and all this other stuff. I was able to create a training plan, and they're still progressing faster than like what they would do if they was just, I don't know, doing another set of plans, I guess I should say. So like for me, the big number is 2 months. But 2 months, when we do your testing, you're going to have a huge spike. And then we reset, we do it again. And every 2 months, we see a huge spike with training. It's based off of, and it's all just based off of just dealing with the mindset of that athlete and what they're good at, and making it, like I said, making it fun and making it entertaining for them that want to do it. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah.
So you went to Mount Union. Is this what you went to school for?
Exercise science, yeah.
Exercise science. So you had a base already. And then you're continuing education now, finding out new ways to do it.
I've always been a part of the training world, though. So my dad like coached and trained, and he kind of followed a certain philosophy. I've been around like world-class sprinting coaches, Coach Jeffrey Jenkins, Coach Chip Johnson. My dad, I believe, did a lot of great things with coaching. This guy named up in Cleveland, he probably don't even know that I still remember him. His name was Tim Robinson. He owns this place called Speed and Strength up in Cleveland. I trained there, but watching how they dealt and how they programmed helped kind of create the mindset too for me. And then when I went to Mount, all I had to do was learn the muscles. So I paid all that money to go to Mount just to learn what muscles correspond with each other. But once I had those two qualities and got into the field, it was kind of easy for me to kind of maneuver, because I've seen it before working with those amazing coaches and trainers. And then when I took the time to educate myself on like why they did what they did and why it makes sense, I was able to take it and run with it.
That's cool. Mm-hmm. That's cool. So it's been a passion of yours for a while.
Yeah, I've had different passions. I think this was I think this is the best thing that I do. There's a lot of things, other things that I tried, but it's not me.
No, no. Well, you do have a couple other things that you have going on though, right? You have a clothing line. Yeah. What's the name of that clothing line?
So No Negations. So No Negations, we have the podcast, and then we have the No Negations apparel that's tied to the podcast. And when we talk about trying to find a path, that is a perfect example, because that company right there has been all over the place. We've done everything. So, oh man, like we started out like a motivational company, like doing like motivational quotes, not really thinking nothing of it. Then we got into speaking. I was speaking in front of schools, doing speeches of like, oh, you can do it. Yeah. Turned out that I kind of didn't really like that as much. Then we started doing, I have spoken in front of churches. I've done things like that. And then I think the best thing, what we're honing in on is the podcast. And it's a faith-based podcast, and we connect real world situations and thoughts to scriptures. Because, we was having conversations with people. It's like, oh, you can't relate that to the Bible. Yeah, you can.
Oh yeah. The Bible is very applicable to current day life. With
everything. Like, it's part of the reason how I figured out some of the stuff I do now. Yeah. But we did that, and then off of that, we've had the apparel. And so the apparel thing is just really something cool to do. A lot of stuff that we have now have more so like God stuff, God references on it. Like we have a shirt that says "See God First." We have a shirt that's about to come out that says "Confidence." It's just cool stuff like that, just stuff that people can wear around. Yeah. So
I was up in Canton at Belden Village Mall.
We got
in that one store up there. Yeah.
Yep, we're in Blended. Yep.
Blended. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess if you guys want some notification stuff, little quick plug.
Yeah. And, hey, that's what it's all about. So you got that in the podcast. Those are together.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And who does the podcast with you?
So it's me and my dad. My wife was doing it until we had our second kid.
Okay.
So she comes on when she can, but not as much anymore. But it's mainly my dad and I now, which is a great time.
Yeah. I bet that's a great time. It's always fun to, I always get a kick out of sitting down with my dad and talking and be able to, talk about your faith and applying those things to everyday life, because that's it's a big thing that a lot of people struggle with is applying their faith that they have on the weekends to their week.
It makes it easy too having my father on there, because like the conversations we have in a car, just talking about, the Browns are going to do this, the Steelers are going. That's basically what our podcast is. It's just like a car ride. You know?
Okay.
It's just like we sit down, we talk about whatever, but we always tie it into our morals and our faith too.
Yeah.
And so I literally think we've talked about every single subject you could possibly talk about on that podcast.
Yeah. How many episodes are you up to on that?
Oh, we're coming up on 200. I think we're episode 170 is dropping today.
Oh, wow.
Which I forgot to hit submit. So he always texts me if I do that, talking about something. Where the podcast?
Where's it at?
Yeah.
So where can people find that at?
On any podcasting platform. So we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, anywhere. If you just search the No Negations podcast. I guess I gotta spell it because people think it's No Negotiations.
Yeah.
But it's NONEGATIONS. So if you search the No Negations podcast, it'll pop up anywhere. So
okay. Cool. I've seen it. I've seen the podcast little snippets on Instagram, because I'm pretty sure I follow that one. And I was wondering, because it's funny that I'm doing a podcast, because I don't listen to podcasts at all.
yeah.
At all. To be completely honest, I haven't listened to a full episode of my own podcast yet.
You probably won't, because it gets to a certain point where, I don't think I listened to a podcast in the last 2 months, and we put one out every week.
Yeah, I just I'm more into music and stuff like that. When I'm working, I don't need to hear other people's voices in my head when I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to stay zoned in on what I'm doing. I tried to listen to a little bit of one of the ones that we've recorded but haven't released yet today, and I got about 10 minutes through it. I'm like, I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah.
I think I remember what I said in that. So, that's a funny little thing about me that I don't. I'm recording podcasts, but I don't listen to them.
Yeah.
But that does lead into one of the things that I'm doing with everybody is, because music's such a big deal to me, and I know when I'm at the gym, you've always got music on. I'm asking everybody what their top 5 songs are.
Oh God.
to work out, whatever, what those top 5 songs are. And there's no wrong answer. Obviously,
oh yeah, there is. Wait,
the episode that I just dropped last week, one of hers was ABBA. ABBA Gold, which I don't know if I've ever listened to it. I was like, ABBA, are you serious right now? And but that got her jacked up. I'm like, okay.
Oh God.
So what are your top 5?
I can't wait for my wife to listen to this. Because, before I go into my top 5,
okay,
I've listened to multiple genres of music, right? I cannot recite one song. I don't know a lyric to one song. So I'm trying to figure out, because I don't really know what the song is saying. I just know the beat. So, okay, I'm not a country music guy, right? But I do like that song by Morgan Wallen called "Thinking About Me." I do like that song.
Okay.
A classic song that I like from Lil Wayne, and I know it's a little out there, you definitely got to put some restrictions on it. Don't listen to Rocky. But I had like the song 6 Foot, 7 Foot. I had like that song big time.
Okay.
I like to work out to that song. I wouldn't say I'll blast that song in a car.
Gotcha.
Okay, that's 2. All right. Okay, I know the song. Okay, let me think of the name.
You can look on your phone if you want.
Oh,
I had
okay,
to
cool.
look on my own phone when they asked me on my episode. I was like, what?
That makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because for me, it's not a top 5. It's like a top 30.
Yeah. So is this dude? His name is Pink Sweat. The song is
Okay.
called Honesty. So I like that song. That's number 3.
Okay.
Oh, I do like this. It's this song by Maverick City and a church called Elevation Worship. They have this song called Gyra. I like that song. And then I like the song. Oh, Bless Me. That's what it's called. And that's also by Maverick City. So
Okay.
those are all. I think that I gave you 3 different genres. So
It's all good.
yeah.
It's all good. That's what when I gave my list, I also admitted though that like most of my stuff that I listen to on a daily basis is pretty heavy stuff, like heavy metal, things like that. And that's why I say to people, like, if you listen to the music that I listen to and you look at me, people don't think that I'm the faithful person that I am. Like, if everybody, like people in my family, when I said that I did the sermon at my church 3 weeks ago, people that follow me on Instagram be like, "What? You did what?" And my family would be like, "Yeah, okay, that makes sense."
Yeah. Okay.
But I have a wide range of genres too. So like my top 10 list, I have literally right next to each other, I have White Zombie and the Hallelujah Chorus right next to each other. And both those songs get me pumped up in a different way.
I bet. Yeah.
But, so I understand the wide genre thing. It's good to be able to experience different parts of all the whole range of our culture.
Yeah, that was that 6 foot 7 foot song. That's a song that would be in my headphones before every game. And like I said, I don't know lyrics. For some reason when I listen to music, it just turns off. I can't. But the beat of
The
it
beat.
goes.
The beat is what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's where like there's some songs that I listen to that if you listen to the words, they're fairly disturbing. But it's the beat.
Yeah.
It's the beat and like the guitar, whatever it is, something in there, and that's what I'm listening to. I'm not listening to the crazy stuff the guy's saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
we was playing a song in the car for our oldest son Dez. And I'm playing it or whatever. And Ayla like looks over. She's like, "What are you playing?" I'm like, "What? This just was on." And she started reading the lyrics. I was like, "There's no way this song says that."
yeah. Well, and that's the funny thing. As a parent, you're starting to play stuff, and then you look over your shoulder at your kid, and you're like,
You dancing and stuff.
"What am I playing for this guy?"
Yeah.
I remember. My daughter was like 3, so it's been a while back. She's 8. She's 17 now, and I'm just listening to music in the car. Playlist is going, and next thing I realize is I got Sir Mix-a-Lot. And my daughter's back there singing "I Like Big Butts," and I'm just like, "Whoa, what? Oh man, I can't play that anymore."
Yeah.
So the one day I'm listening to what was it, Slayer or something? Jack's singing "Rain and Blood," and I'm just like, I probably shouldn't do that anymore. But anyways, so I always like doing the top 5 because. Music is a big part of, especially for me when I'm working out.
Yeah.
Like, music's huge.
Yeah.
Like that's the only way I can run is listening to music.
Honestly, yeah, because you just try to hit the beat.
Long distance, and you find a beat that you can run to, and because you got to find a way to ignore the pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what music does for me. Well, we're coming up on hour and 15 minutes already.
Really?
Yeah. Yep, hour and 15 minutes already. So I really appreciate you coming and talking, Darrell.
Yeah, it was fun. I appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah, and like I said to you the one day, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on is because you are a younger version of me. You went out on your own. You're in your 20s still, right? And I'm 45. And, you took that risk at a point in your life where I don't think I had the guts to do it. And that's impressive to me. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on and hear your story, because I think your story is so impressive for that reason. Because so many people steer away from challenges, and so many people run away from their dreams because they're afraid of what bad might happen.
Right.
And you didn't let that run you. You took a chance, and to me that's impressive, because you did that. But then also, it's someone that people should want to be like, that can trust in God's plan for them to make those steps. And that's what you did. And I think I said that to you the one day, is I may not look it, but I'm a faithful person, same as you are. And I wanted to be able to talk to you about that.
I appreciate it.
So it's so very impressive to me. Thank you so much for being here. For everybody that's been listening, this is D. Sullins, Darrell D. Sullins. And with Sky High Fitness, No Negations, No Negations Podcast, and Sky High Fitness in Alliance, Ohio. You can find him on Instagram. He's working on a website. And if you want to get some of the No Negations apparel, you can find it at Blended in Belden Village.
Yep, or they can go online.
Or they can go online to the No Negations website.
NoNegations.com.
NoNegations.com. You can get it there. And once again, you can follow me, Ben Crawford, with Red Barn Home Furnishings on Instagram at redbarn_. I said it wrong again. red_barn_home. Or also, you can follow it on the YouTube channel. Do you have a YouTube?
I do.
You do? It's Sky High or No Negations?
No Negations.
No Negations. You can find Darrell there on YouTube. You can find me on Red Barn Home Furnishings YouTube and redbarnhomefurnishings.com. Once again, want to say thanks to Darrell for being here. Thanks to everybody for listening. And be sure to tune in next time, because we're going to be grilling with Keith from Kryptonite Barbecue. He's going to be grilling for us as we're talking at the podcast, and he's going to have some good stuff.
Can I come?
Yeah. He said he's cooking a bunch. Have you ever seen what are they called, tomahawks? Tomahawk steaks?
Yeah. He cooking those?
That's what he says he's cooking for me.
Oh, I can bring the family.
Those things, they're legit. I'm pretty pumped about it. So, but once again, thanks, Darrell. And have a great day. God bless everybody.